I'm 89 years old, and I lost my closest friend because I refused to apologize. That's the truth of it. No clever wording, no softer version. At this age, most days are quiet. Too quiet sometimes. The house doesn't echo with voices anymore. Just the clock, the floorboards, my own breathing. I don't tell this story because I want sympathy. I tell it because I don't have much time left. And this is one thing I never said out loud the way it deserved to be said. There are names you stop saying after a while. Not because they matter less, but because saying them hurts too much. His name was Thomas. Everyone called him Tom, except me. I always called him Thomas, even when we were young. He used to say it made him feel like he mattered. I still hear his laugh sometimes. It shows up without warning. When I'm washing a cup, when I'm staring out the window, when I think I've already thought everything there is to think. People talk about losing friends like it's something sudden, an argument, a betrayal, a clean break. This wasn't like that. This was slower, quieter, more ordinary, and worse. Thomas and I met when we were both 23. We worked at the same factory back then, loud place, long hours, not much pay. He stood next to me on the line for weeks before we really talked. Then one day the machine jammed, and we had to wait. We complained about the noise, the heat, the supervisor, the usual things. After that, we started having lunch together, then drinks after work, then weekends. Friendship didn't feel like something special at the time. It felt automatic, like breathing. We married around the same time, had children around the same time. Our lives ran side by side for decades, without either of us really noticing how rare that is. We helped each other move houses. We fixed each other's cars. We stood next to each other at funerals and weddings and hospital waiting rooms. When my father died, Thomas didn't say much. He just sat with me. That was his way. When his wife got sick, I drove him to appointments. We didn't talk much then either. We didn't need to. I thought we had time. I always thought we had time. The fight itself was nothing important. That's the part that still makes me shake my head. It was about money. Not even money we shared. A small loan. Something I offered without thinking, and then resented quietly after. I didn't say anything at first. I let it sit. I let it grow. When he paid me back later than I expected, I made a comment. Not loud, not cruel, just sharp enough to land. He looked surprised, not angry, hurt. He told me he was dealing with things I didn't know about. He said he meant no disrespect. All he wanted was for me to understand. I told him he should have planned better. I said it casually, like advice, like I was being reasonable. He went quiet after that. I noticed it, but I didn't follow it. A week passed. Then another. I waited for him to call. He didn't. That's when pride stepped in. Not the loud kind. The quiet, stubborn kind. I told myself I had nothing to apologize for. I told myself I was right. I told myself he would come around. Weeks turned into months. We stopped running into each other. Then we stopped looking. I thought about calling him many times. Always at night, always when it was too late to actually pick up the phone. I rehearsed apologies in my head. Then I talked myself out of them. I told myself it would be awkward. I told myself I didn't want to reopen things. Mostly, I told myself there would be another chance. Life kept moving. Work, family, bills, appointments. He became a story I used to tell instead of a person I spoke to. Years passed that way. Not with a slam. With a slow closing of a door, no one was standing near anymore. I heard things about him through others, that he'd moved, that his health wasn't great, that he asked about me once. I didn't do anything with that information. I nodded. I said, "I hope he's well." I went home. That's the part I regret most. Not the fight, not the words, the waiting. The day I found out he was sick, it felt unreal. Like hearing about a stranger with a familiar name, cancer, Advanced. Not much time. I sat at the kitchen table with the phone in my hand for a long time. Long enough for the tea to go cold. I thought about everything I would say. I thought about how small the argument had been. I thought about how old we were now. How much life had already slipped by. I told myself I'd call the next day. I wanted to sound calm, prepared. The next day never came. He died 3 days later. I didn't make it to the hospital. I didn't make it to the end. I stood at his funeral feeling like an intruder, listening to stories I should have been part of. His daughter hugged me. She said he used to talk about me, said he missed me. I nodded. I thanked her. I didn't trust my voice. That's when clarity arrived. Not like a revelation, like a weight. Some losses don't scream. They sit. They sit with you in the morning. They sit with you when you set one plate instead of two. There is no fixing this, no making it right later. I can't tell him I was wrong. I can't tell him I was afraid of looking small. I can't tell him that the apology was always there, stuck behind my teeth. People like to say time heals things. Time doesn't heal what you never tend to. Time just makes the edges harder to reach. If you're listening to this and you still have someone you're avoiding, I won't tell you what to do. I'm not here for that. I'll only tell you what I learned too late. Being right didn't keep me warm at night. It didn't sit next to me when the house got quiet. Pride didn't show up when I needed company. It didn't remember our jokes. It didn't know our history. Apologies feel heavy when you imagine them. They feel smaller once they're spoken. Silence feels easy at first, then it becomes permanent. I used to think friendship was something that could survive anything, that history alone was enough. It isn't. Relationships don't usually break from one moment. They fade from waiting too long. Now at 89, I understand something simple, not profound, just true. You don't apologize because you're wrong. You apologize because you don't want to lose someone. I wish I had understood that when my voice was steadier, when there was still a phone call to make. If this story meant something to you, sit with it. You don't need to do anything dramatic. Just don't assume there will be more time. I'm living with the proof that sometimes there isn't.